Welcome to the weekly Brew, everyone. So the whole point of this show is to basically go over some of the top stories during the week that I found interesting, and we're just going to chat about them for a little bit, see what we can learn, and if I find it appropriate, I'll give some of my thoughts. And jumping straight into it, if you are alive right now, you probably know that the US elections is in full swing. In just a couple days, we are going to know who the new president of the United States is going to be. And it's between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And one thing I have noticed during this election period right now, as it's starting to heat up, is that each side is trying to find some big story to, I guess, make the other side look bad. So quite recently, at one of Trump's rallies, Tony Hinchcliffe, I think his name is, made a joke about Puerto Rico being a pile of trash.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right.
Now, as you can imagine, a lot of people took this badly. On the internet, especially on X, a bunch of people were calling him racist and all those kind of names under the sun. And I actually watched a few other clips of him because he does these roast kind of comedies. And I watched a clip of him just going crazy, and it puts things into perspective a little bit.
Everyone's up here talking about what a big winner Tom is, but let me tell you, Tom is afraid of the Giants, which is why Kevin Hart is hosting tonight. It's true. All night, he's been using the stool that Aaron Hernandez kicked out from under himself. It's true. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting. So many great quarterbacks up here. You know who doesn't pass? Kevin Hart on any movie he's offered.
Should he have made that joke at a rally, though? Let's just say I don't think it was the smartest move. So you had people like AOC coming out and saying that this is the worst thing ever. And the whole campaign, Kamala's campaign, kind of rode that wave. And then a few days later, Joe Biden goes on and he says something along the lines of the only garbage he sees are Trump supporters.
And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
And now you can imagine the other side has now also lost their minds. They're all talking about how the president of the United States called half the country garbage, basically. And as you can imagine, Trump's whole campaign ran with this too. He appeared in a garbage truck driving around, which is great marketing, by the way. Like, great idea to ride that wave, quite literally.
250 million people are not garbage. I can tell you who the real garbage is, but we won't say that.
All right, guys. All right, guys. Full camera.
Right here. Keep commenting. Nice.
Biden's team has come out to say that that's not what he said. Actually, there was an apostrophe somewhere. I can't even remember the whole thing. But it's just hilarious to me right now, seeing how the media is jumping on every story. Every little thing is part of the campaign. And as someone living outside of the United States and just watching all of this stuff, it is quite entertaining. And I wish it was just entertaining if it wasn't also a little bit terrifying, because depending on who wins, it affects all of us. Another story that I found quite disturbing.
3 years after the Taliban's return to power, a new law has been passed saying that women must cover their face and body completely if they leave the house, and their voices cannot be heard in public.
So I think since 2020, the Taliban have been in control of Afghanistan, and they've started somewhat cracking down on women, they're basically stripping away women's rights. And I am reading from LBC right now. Afghan women banned from hearing each other as Taliban's latest rule surpasses misogyny and silences women's voices. The latest measure announced by Afghanistan's Minister for the Promotion of Virtue and Prevention of Vice, Khalid, whatever his name is, adds to an existing string of draconian rules aimed at controlling Afghan women. In his message, Minister Khalid Hanafi said, even when an adult female prays and another female passes by, she must not pray loudly enough for them to hear. Here's a list of a bunch of different things women are no longer allowed to do, that women are forbidden to do. Go to high school or university, work in civil service, attend a protest, go abroad, drive a car, travel alone, ride in a taxi, speak in public, sing, and it continues. And I personally found this story quite heartbreaking, because how in the world do you live in a society like that? There's been a lot of conversation about Islamophobia and all that sort of stuff. But when you read stories like this, you must kind of wonder, is this the end game of Islam? Or are these just a radical group of people? And if this is just a radical group of people, where are the normal Muslim people coming out protesting or denouncing this sort of restrictive control over human beings as being against the Quran or whatever the case is? And if a bunch of people who follow Islam, normal people, are not coming out and denouncing this sort of stuff, then it makes everyone kind of wonder if this is the point. This is where this religion leads to. They want us not to exist at all, said one Afghan woman from Herat, reflecting the despair many feel under the Taliban's escalating restrictions. It's insane. I'm sorry. This is just insane. A story that has been kind of breaking quite, as of filming this just a day or two ago, about a squirrel named Peanut.
Every daily routine consists of him in some sort of way. In the morning, we had breakfast together. This is mine.
It's this guy. He's got a social media presence where he basically rescued a squirrel, and he's been making a bunch of content with a squirrel named Peanut online, and the videos are really popular, really wholesome stuff. As the story goes, a bunch of people complained, and I'm just going to quote from TMZ. After numerous complaints from anonymous tipsters, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation initiated several warrants, had them signed off by the district attorney and a criminal judge, and showed up at the home of the Longo family on Wednesday, October 30th, en masse and without warning to seize Peanut, as told by Mark Longo. They took Peanuts and I think a raccoon as well. I'm not quite sure. And they killed the squirrel. And as you can imagine, this has set the internet on fire, because I don't know what it is about us people, but we seem to be able to connect more with animals, or to find a lot more sympathy with animals, because I think deep down we all know that they are deeply innocent.
We just learned that they have euthanized Peanut. And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal after they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
They got a search warrant. 4 departments and a judge signed off on a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And then they took them and killed them.
Why did they go through all that to get a search warrant for an animal that had been with you very safely, and the world witnessed this for 7 years? Why now suddenly did they show up with a search warrant and take?
There's something about that that's actually really sad. I think there's some law in New York about wild animals and rabies, the possibility of getting contaminated with rabies or something. Off the top of my head, the first question I have is, who complained? Why would you complain about that? I don't understand. The squirrel isn't hurting anyone. It's bringing joy. People are happy watching some of the videos. And I personally watch a lot of little videos like that with people who have domesticated animals and the connection between human and animals and all that sort of stuff. And it's always so wholesome. The idea that the cops would break into your house, right, and take your animals and then kill them because it's against the law to have them is insane to me. I don't understand. Why would they euthanize the animals straight away?
Hi, everyone. I don't know how I'm going to say this. I just want to say thank you to all of you. Peanut was the best thing that ever happened to us. And we got confirmation that they put him down. I want to continue to fight this fight as much as I can, but we need all of you to come together and help us. Please continue to help us raise money for the ongoing legal battles and for our nonprofit so we can keep Peanut's name alive. Thank you all.
I don't know. That just hits, man. And I'm sure someone might say that, hey, listen, they broke the law, so what else could they expect? But I don't know. I think a lot of the anger that people are feeling is the fact that it can sometimes feel like law enforcement is going quite light on actual criminals, especially in the state of New York. How many stories of people being attacked or shoplifting and all of that sort of stuff, right? It seems like the government drags its feet when it comes to prosecuting people like that. But with this, you would have thought that they were selling tons of drugs or something like that. But no, they were just... That's sad, man. Another story that has been breaking that I've been following for a little bit was the crime that sparked the protests and violent riots in the UK.
Riots erupted on the streets of Southport last night, following a knife attack on Monday, which left 3 girls dead and other young children in a critical condition.
Axel is accused of killing girls aged between 6 and 9 at a Taylor Swift-themed dance event in Southport. Murders that shocked Britain, and was followed by days of rioting. So part of the reason why people were rioting is because they felt that the government was hiding information from them, because they seemed to be a bit edgy about giving information about who the perpetrator was. And a lot of people jumped to the conclusion that it had something to do with Islamic terrorism.
Rioters gathered around a mosque not far from the scene of the stabbings. Vehicles were set alight and projectiles thrown at riot police by people believed to be supporters of the English Defence League.
The government came down really hard on the rioters, called them far right, and said that they were basically Nazis and racist and all the isms, and people were arrested, and a lot of them rightfully so, because, you know, if violently rioting is not, it's probably not the best way to go about things. But new information has come out about Axel, and apparently he's now being charged with production of lethal biological toxin, ricin, and possession of an Al-Qaeda training manual. So radical Islamic terrorism is now once again connected to him. And now people are genuinely upset, because they're like, wait, were you trying to hide this information from the public? Like, were you genuinely trying to hide the fact that someone had been somehow radicalized by Islamic terrorism in the UK, someone who wasn't from anywhere in the Middle East? I think police said after the new charges were made public that the stabbings were still not being treated as terrorist related. And this is something else that is getting people upset, because if it's true and it is connected to terrorism, that's going to be crazy. But I found the story really interesting, and I'm interested to see where it kind of goes, and I'm still following around and seeing what people are saying. But yeah, so these are some of the stories I found really interesting. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think below. Subscribe to the channel. This is something that I'm starting out, and boom. Thank you for watching. Until next time.